Okay, let's start with a little thought experiment today. I want you to imagine you're the head coach of an NFL team. The game's over, you're walking into the locker room, but you haven't seen the score yet. Someone just hands you the stat sheet.
All right, I'm there. I'm in that headspace. I've got the sheet in my hand. What's it say?
You look down, you see total offense. Your team, 346 yards, pretty solid. Then you look over at the other guys, 282 yards. You outgained them by more than 60 yards.
60 yards. Yeah, that's a huge difference in this league. If you're plus 60, you're usually feeling pretty good about
It
things.
gets even better. You glance at the rushing stats. Your main running back is averaging, and I'm not making this up, over 20 yards every time he touches the ball. And your defense. They were just living in the opponent's backfield, tackles for loss all day long. So just based on that paper, what's your gut feeling? How'd the game go?
Come on. Statistically, that's a win. That's a comfortable win. Maybe even, a blowout. If you're that efficient running the football and you're controlling the yardage battle, the math is just overwhelmingly on your side.
The math should be. But that's why we're doing this deep dive. We are talking about the Arizona Cardinals versus the San Francisco 49ers from Week 7 of Season 84. Because despite everything I just laid out, the scoreboard told a completely different story. A painful one. Final score. San Francisco 31, Arizona 17.
It's a true statistical paradox. It's one of those games where if you just saw the box score without the final score, you'd think it was a typo,
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out how the physics of football even allowed that to happen.
Exactly. And that's our mission today. We're not just recapping a game, we are solving this mystery. We've been digging through all the coverage from Red Sea Radio. They do fantastic work on the Cardinals to figure out the why. They actually call it the recipe for frustration, which honestly I think is the perfect name for it.
It really is. And just so you know, listening at home, this isn't some story about a fluky bounce or a bad call. When we peel this back, this is a masterclass in how to be inefficient. It's a case study in the massive difference between moving the ball and, well, actually winning.
Yes, the difference between yards and points. And Arizona learned that lesson the hard way. But before we get to the really ugly numbers, and trust me, they are ugly, let's set the scene a bit. Because this didn't start out as a disaster, right?
No, and that's what makes it so much more frustrating for the fans. If you were just watching the first quarter, you probably felt great. It started like a shootout. San Francisco gets an opening touchdown, fine, but Arizona came right back. They didn't even blink, marched down and scored one of their own.
It's 7-7, the energy's high, you're thinking, okay, here we go, a real heavyweight fight.
Exactly. The offense is clicking, the script looks good, and then the clock ticked over to the second quarter, and the wheels didn't just fall off, they completely disintegrated into dust.
The second quarter was the entire collapse.
A total meltdown. You mentioned that recipe for frustration. This is where they threw all the worst ingredients into the blender at once. San Francisco just exploded. 17 points in that quarter alone.
17 points in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's an avalanche in the NFL.
It is. And while the Niners are just running away with it, Arizona's offense hits a brick wall. They scrape together one field goal. So you go from this tight 7-7 game to suddenly just staring up at a 24-10 hole at halftime.
And a 14-point deficit against a team like the 49ers is a death sentence. They are built to play with a lead. They know how to just squeeze the life out of a game.
That's the whole thing. Once you're down by 2 scores to a disciplined team, you can't run your offense anymore. You're fighting the clock, you're fighting them, and you become predictable.
The sources did note that Arizona got a touchdown late in the fourth, but it felt very much like too little too late.
Yeah, that was cosmetic, made the final score look a bit more respectable, but the game was over. The defense actually played much better in the second half, and we should definitely get to that. But that hole was just too deep. You can't spot a good team that kind of lead.
Okay, so let's go back to that central mystery, the numbers. 346 yards to 282. I can't get past it. How does that happen? What's the mechanism that breaks that rule of football?
It really comes down to what I call empty calorie stats.
Yeah.
Arizona was gaining a ton of yards, but they were getting zero nutritional value from them. And the Red Sea Radio analysis points to 2 huge factors. The first one is third down efficiency.
I saw this stat in the notes, and I literally had to zoom in on my screen. I thought I was misreading it.
It's shocking, right?
Arizona converted 0% of their third down.
0. Not 1. The entire game.
How is that even possible in a professional game? You'd think you'd just, accidentally fall forward for one.
It's so rare and it's so devastating. We call it the money down for a reason. It's the play that keeps a drive alive. If you fail there, the drive is dead. That's it. You punt.
So does it matter if you get, say, 9 yards on the first 2 plays? If you can't get that one last yard, those 9 yards are basically meaningless for the scoreboard.
Precisely. They show up in the total yards column, which makes the stat sheet look pretty, but you're not getting any closer to scoring. You're just giving the ball back. And think about the rhythm, or lack thereof. You can never sustain anything.
And on the other side of that coin, your defense is getting absolutely no rest.
None at all. You're going 3 and out or stalling after a couple plays, and your defense is buckling their chin straps again before they can even catch their breath. That 0% number, that's the real heart of this loss.
But that's only ingredient number 1 in the recipe. Because you can, maybe, survive bad third downs if you're playing clean football. But they weren't.
Not even close. They committed 3 turnovers.
And that's the great equalizer.
It's more than an equalizer. It's a force multiplier for the other team. You can move the ball 60 yards down the field, and then you throw a pick. Well, you didn't just lose your chance to score. You just gave the other team great field position and all the momentum.
It completely cancels out the yardage. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has 3 giant holes in the bottom.
It makes the yards meaningless. I'll say it flat out. If you game 400 yards, but turn it over 3 times and can't convert a third down, you will lose to a team that gains 200 yards and plays clean. It happens every single time. It's about efficiency, not volume.
It really sounds like Arizona was just beating themselves.
That's the perfect way to say it. They were productive between the 20-yard lines, but an absolute disaster when it mattered most.
Which brings us perfectly to this tale of 2 offenses. Because when you look at how they got those yards, the story gets even weirder. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Let's start with the good, though, because the run game was electric.
Oh, absolutely. If you only looked at the rushing stats, you'd think the Cardinals won by 30. We have to start with Trey Benson.
Trey Benson. The stat line is just, it's comical. 5 carries, 104 yards.
It looks like a typo from a video game, doesn't it?
It does. It looks like you put the difficulty on rookie mode. That's over 20 yards a pop. How does that even happen?
Well, a huge chunk of it came on one player, right? The moment of the game, Benson gets to the outside and just rips off a 74-yard touchdown run.
Gone. Nobody was even close.
Untouched. And that play is so important because it shows you the kind of explosive talent they have. He can change a game on any single play. He made a very good 49ers defense look like they were standing still.
And it wasn't just him. The quarterback, Jack Weber, he scrambled for about 23 yards. Pacheco added another 22. As a team, they were averaging over 7 yards per carry.
Which is an insane number. If you can average 7 yards every time you run the ball, you should be able to control the entire game. You break the other team's will.
But they didn't?
No, because you can't be one-dimensional, not in this league. Defenses adjust. They'll just put 11 guys in the box.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the bad, the struggling air attack.
The passing game. So rookie quarterback Jack Weber. Red Sea Radio called this a rocky stretch for him, which feels charitable.
Rocky is very polite. This was a brick wall. Most people just see the gross passing yards. Weber threw for 111, which, let's be real, is already a dangerously low number for a full game.
111 is what some quarterbacks get in one good quarter.
Right, but it gets so much worse when you look at the net passing yard.
Okay, so explain that difference for everyone, net versus gross.
Sure, so net passing yards is the true measure. You take the yards from completed passes, and then you subtract the yards you lost on sacks, because a sack is a failed pass attempt that goes backwards.
Right, so a 10-yard pass followed by a 10-yard sack is a net gain of 0.
Exactly. Weber was sacked 3 times. When you subtract that lost yardage from his 111 passing yards, the Arizona passing offense generated a grand total of 75 net yards.
75. In the whole game.
Whole game. For 60 minutes of football.
Wow. That puts everything in perspective. You can't win with 75 net passing yards. It's impossible.
It's functionally impossible. It puts so much pressure on everyone else. If you can't throw, the defense just sells out to stop the run. It puts your own defense in a horrible spot because you can't sustain drives.
And it wasn't just the lack of yards. It was the negative plays, the turnovers. 2 interceptions from Weber.
That's the killer combination. It's one thing to be ineffective. It's another thing to be ineffective and reckless. His completion percentage was down at 52%. So basically, half the time he dropped back to pass, it was either incomplete, a sack, or a turnover.
That is the textbook definition of having no rhythm whatsoever.
It destroys any momentum you might get. I mean, think about it. Benson rips off that amazing 74-yard run. The stadium is electric. But then the next 3 possessions are sack and completion punt. It just sucks all the air out of the building.
It really highlights the struggle. I mean, they have talent at receiver, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. is a stud.
He is a massive talent. But what'd he have? 2 catches for 50 yards. They just couldn't get him the ball. McBride had that nice 24-yard touchdown, but other than that, it was just dink and dunk for a few yards here and there.
Yeah, I saw names like Betch and Davis and Thomas, but for tiny gains.
Exactly. 3 4-yard catches don't scare a defense, so the Niners could just sit on all the short routes, crowd the line of scrimmage, and basically dare the rookie quarterback to beat them deep.
And on this particular day, he couldn't do it.
No. And now that's the book on him. Until Weber proves he can make teams pay for loading the box, that's what he's going to see every single week. It makes the run game that much harder.
It's just got to be so frustrating. You see the flashes, but the passing game is just an anchor dragging the whole operation down.
It puts a very clear ceiling on what this team can accomplish.
Okay, let's flip it over. We've been pretty tough on the offense, but the final score was 31-17. Giving up 31 points usually means the defense had a bad day. But reading the analysis, it sounds like they were actually not that bad.
It's complicated, but yeah, context is so important here. Think about the situations they were constantly in. 3 turnovers by the offense. That 0% on third down means the defense is always on the field.
Right. They're defending short fields. They're tired. It's a recipe for disaster.
For sure. They were playing with one hand tied behind their back. But even with all that, there were some legitimate bright spots, some individual guys who were really playing at a high level.
So who stood out on that side of the ball?
Jalen Thompson was flying around. He led the team with 6 tackles, had a pass breakup. But what really jumped out was the disruption. We have to talk about Tremaine Edmonds and the rookie safety, Andrew Estrada.
Oh, the rookie stepping up. You love to see that.
It's huge. Between the two of them, Edmonds and Estrada, they had 5 tackles. But here's the crazy stat. They combined for 5 tackles for loss.
5 TFLs between 2 guys. That's a massive number. That means they're not just making tackles, they are blowing up plays in the backfield.
It's a chaos play. It shows instinct, speed, aggression. It tells you they weren't just sitting back on their heels, they were attacking the line of scrimmage.
And they got a turnover, too. Jack Jones had an interception.
Right. So the defense was making plays. They were creating negative plays for the 49ers offense. They were doing their part to create momentum shifts.
But they just eventually broke under the weight of it all.
I think that's the fair way to put it. The source material says they really tightened up in the second half. They adjusted, they stopped the bleeding, but by then the offense had already dug that 14-point hole.
It really all comes back to that old cliche about complementary football. It sounds so basic, but this game is Exhibit A. The offense hung the defense out to dry.
It's a total ecosystem. If the offense just gets 2 of those third downs, maybe the defense gets 10 more minutes of rest on the sideline. Maybe that changes one of San Francisco's scoring drives. It's all connected.
Okay, so let's try to put a bow on this. We have this bizarre game, huge yardage, an explosive run game, an aggressive defense, and a lopsided loss. What's the big takeaway?
I think the takeaway is that the Cardinals are the ultimate boom or bust team right now. They have a really high ceiling because of that explosiveness, but their floor is incredibly low because they are so inefficient. You just can't win consistently in this league when you have that recipe. Turnovers, red zone issues, and a 0 on third down.
It feels like a team that is beating itself.
In this game, 100%. The 49ers are a great team, but Arizona handed them the keys in that second quarter and basically said, here, go win the game.
And consistency almost always beats flash in the NFL.
Every single time. You need to be able to grind out that boring 4-yard gain on 3rd and 3. That's not exciting, but that's how you win.
Well, speaking of grinding, they don't have time to feel sorry for themselves. The goal is to get back to .500, but look who they've got coming up next.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh boy. If you want to talk about a team that punishes mistakes.
That is the worst possible opponent to see on the schedule when you have turnover problems. The Steelers live for that stuff. They don't have to outgain you. If that rookie quarterback holds onto the ball second too long, TJ Watt is going to have a field day.
It feels like a real gut check week for them.
It is. They have to clean it up. The yards don't matter against Pittsburgh. It's all about protecting the football.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought here, something on the bigger picture. We've talked a lot about Jack Weber and his rocky stretch.
It's definitely a slump.
We're in a league that is built for quarterbacks to succeed. The rules, the money, everything is about passing the ball. Can a team really truly compete if their quarterback is this much of a liability?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
I mean, even if your running back is averaging 20 yards a carry, is that enough to overcome it?
It brings up a scary point. We love talking about balance and establishing the run, but what happens when you're down 14 points? The run game goes out the window. You have to throw.
The clock becomes your enemy.
Exactly. So if your quarterback can't operate a traditional drop-back passing game, you basically have no way to come back from a deficit. The question for the Cardinals isn't about Trey Benson. We know he's great. The question is, can Jack Weber figure it out before this season gets away from them?
Is balance just a nice buzzword, or is it actually the only thing that can save their season? Because right now, they're leaning so far in one direction, they're about to tip over.
They are tipping, and if they don't find their footing against Pittsburgh, they're going to get knocked right down.
A fascinating game to break down. Frustrating, confusing, but that's why we do this. The numbers tell a story the scoreboard can't.
Absolutely. The numbers never lie. You just have to know how to read them.
Well said. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care, everyone.